Hello. It's Thursday, July the 9th, and you are watching the BOTTEN and KLUMM show.
Hello, welcome back, viewers, and for any new viewers, welcome for the first time. We are BOTTEN and KLUMM. I'm BOTTEN, he's KLUMM, and we are proud members of the AXWAY Catalyst team. We are talking about digital transformation, digital acceleration, opening your business to everything all over the world. We're doing it virtually now. So we are using this show to bring people together from the digital community, getting digital out of the basement, and just discussing with great guests anything that remotely touches the digital world.
So, and usually we're talking with guests, but last time we didn't have any guests, but we had an amazing audience because we produced the BOTTEN and KLUMM show live for the Argyle CIO Leadership Forum. So it was live and it was broadcasted at the same time to this conference. So we were absolutely humbled to have the closing keynote there, and we had many people were saying this was really exciting to have something else, a different format at the end to re-energize them. So we're doing this as well. We're doing our show for conferences. So we love what we're doing.
It's great, isn't it? That we can actually repurpose the show and meet a whole bunch of needs all over the place with the same format. It's great. It's great. So we have a guest today, obviously. And this is somebody I've known for quite a long time. It's Cécile Mazuet, founder of NameSwitch.
Hello.
Hey, Cécile.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Cécile. Good to have you.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's great. So I was just saying that you and I have worked together. We've known each other for a long, long time. We originally met in the kind of world of marketing, internet marketing, when internet marketing was kind of like a new thing, right?
Yeah, you're making me feel a bit old now, Brian. But yes.
Yeah, we'll swiftly move on because you've been doing a lot of other things since then. I mean, you were awesome as a marketing communications expert, and we had a lot of fun working together. But especially your cowboy boots. I used to love. Cécile used to walk through the office with cool cowboy boots. But so we had a lot of fun. But now you've moved on to other things, and NameSwitch is really interesting. But what we usually do with guests is before we start talking about NameSwitch, let's just have a little quiz, and the quiz will revolve around the quiz. He loves the quiz. And the guests usually look just as horrified as you look right now. So, okay, I'm going to name four. We'll just do four today. I'm going to name four people who had a name switch, and then you can see if you can guess the name they switched to.
Okay.
No, do the reverse. The name they switched from.
Yep.
The name they switched from.
I think you can make 4 points today.
4 points.
Okay,
out of 4.
try.
Okay, you ready? So the first one is Melania Trump.
The former name of Melania Trump.
Former name of Melania Trump.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
I get sued by Jeopardy.
Melanie.
It's Melania Knaus.
Knaus, yeah.
Knaus. She went from Knaus to Trump.
Yeah.
And it's actually Kvaus, because she's Slovenian.
Yeah.
But they made it into German. Okay, next one, Michelle Obama.
Oh, I know this. Oh, I know this. Wasn't Princeton or something?
Give a hint. Give a hint, Brian.
Very close. Do 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 do. Hey.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yeah.
Robinson. She was Robinson.
Yeah.
I watched her movie the other day. It was great. What an inspirational human being she is.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Cool. Yeah, I have to check that out. Yes.
We've got 2 more.
Okay, so the next one is Iggy Pop.
Right, he had some kind of strange, boring, like his name was Dave or Richard. Sorry to anyone called Dave or Richard. Everyone needs a friend called Dave. Something like Brian.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It
John.
was James. Yeah, James
Johnson.
Osterberg Jr. I like the fact that he was a junior,
Okay.
good Midwestern boy. Yeah, James Osterberg Jr. Okay, last one. This is Kai's favorite. John Denver.
John Denver was called John Cena. God.
John Jacob Jingleheimer.
Actually, this is Johannes Deutschendorfer.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. I can see why
Wow.
you'd need a name switch.
That's for a good
he
reason.
needed it. He needed it. And a lot of people do need
I
name
know.
switches.
Sometimes
and that's how
I
it was
look.
born, right?
Sometimes I look and I say better or worse, better or worse, better or worse. And
Yeah.
it's, normally they
Yeah,
end
you
up
could have
better, but it
A
depends.
rating feature. Mm.
So
Anyway, so people do need name switching. So that, like we said, some people really do. But this was born out of your own experience, right? Like so many startups. I always love the story of Airbnb. Everybody knows that story where the founders of Airbnb couldn't really even afford to pay their rent. They didn't have a lot of money, but they wanted to attend this design conference in San Francisco. And they were just appalled that they couldn't even touch the hotel rates. So they couldn't find a place to stay and thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if you could, wherever you go around the world, you could find an affordable, great place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And so born from that kind of experience, their own experience, they started. And I think you have a similar story, right?
Yeah, I think it's where there's a real problem that you're trying to fix, a real pain. And if people get that, then you might well have something. Of course, you've got to execute it and it's got to work and the journey, all of those good things, but all good ideas come from solving a problem. And my experience was one, sadly I got divorced. It happens. And for personal reasons, I was very keen to remove my former married name and revert to my maiden name back to Mazuet. And I wanted an ability to kind of whip the plaster off and do it quite quickly. I was busy, single mom, working a corporate job. And when I first started looking around, I was like, why is this so complicated? My name is on so many different things, but every company has a different way of doing it.
Yep.
Why isn't there a way? Why isn't there a service that can help me to do it? And I looked and I couldn't find one. I found one in America. I found a few in America, but there wasn't anything that offered that service in the UK. So I went about and I changed my name on and off, stop, start.
Mm-hmm.
But that little itch was always there in the background. And I spoke to quite a few friends and I kept on saying, you know what, this was a real pain. And everyone was like, oh, I remember when I changed my name, when I got married or when I got divorced. And they kept on saying to me, you should do it. You should build it. You should make it. And with a lot of encouragement, I was tired, but still quite free. For those who know me, I still have, still got some juice in the tank. So I just thought to myself, yeah, why don't I do it?
Yeah, why not?
I think it was quite encouraging as well that there's a company in America called HitchSwitch, which I researched a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they were set up by two guys who recognized that when their respective wives got married, they had a hard time. And that's when they had their eureka moment that says, why can't we create a service that all the pain goes away and they go to one place and ta-da, they've got everything that they need to change their life.
Cool.
So I researched them. They now employ 86 people. They have changed hundreds and thousands. Obviously, it's a bigger market in the US, but they've changed hundreds and thousands of names just in the wedding market alone.
Okay.
And had a turnover a good few years ago of 5.8 million. So it wasn't a bad effort, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought to myself,
so you could see the market was there.
Yeah, the market's there, and also it's cyclical. Every year, 350,000 people get married in the UK. Sadly, 250,000 people get divorced, and about over 100,000 people change their name by what's called deed poll over here. So there's 500,000 people who will have a life-changing event every year, And a large majority of those, particularly in the wedding sector, will want to change their name. And that's not just women, by the way, taking their husband's name. It is men taking their wife's name, or it is something we're seeing really growing now, which is quite refreshing. It is couples combining names.
Double names.
Yeah,
it's a German word.
Paralleling, or they're doing what is known as meshing, where they create a brand new name, like or something.
A hybrid. A
merge.
Yeah,
absolutely.
This is fun.
So yeah, that's starting to grow, but the rise of couples changing their name is significant. I've noticed a big surge in the last year, and we're getting an awful lot more men as well, same sex or heterosexuals. You know, we don't care about their sexual orientation. We obviously are very inclusive to cover, and then also a much smaller number, but people will change their name after gender reassignment as well. So it's a name is a really important thing, and people want to get it right. But also, once they've made that decision, they don't necessarily know how to go about doing it. So this service resonates with the market. And when I first went out, obviously for me it was as a divorcee, but it was very, very clear to me very quick that the biggest market, the most keenest market to go and tackle was the wedding industry, and they're super keen. I mean, they switch their name on average within the first 4 weeks of being wedded. So you can find them, you can target them, as long as obviously you've got the right partnerships. So that's
the market's there. There are lots of ways to do it. Kai, you were wondering about the product itself, and we talk all the time to customers about what really makes like a truly digital experience.
So we are the API guys, and we connecting everything. We let systems talk, and so when I'm listening to you, and I think I'm divorced as well for sometimes. It's not at least one, I think 2-3 times, and so but I never changed my name. But I think name means identity, and I'm thinking about how would it be if I would have to change my name, where to go to, and what does it mean, especially if you were not only official name on your ID, if you're wearing a brand, for example, how do people react if you are switching your name? So all this is currently going around in my head. And if we're talking about a product, if I would think about a product to set it up to make, what's a minimum viable product and how to extend it? What are the steps that are needed to make this product happen?
Okay, so first of all, I was very clear from day one that I didn't want a minimum viable product. I wanted a viable product.
Okay.
So I was, and that main reason was because this was not a hobby for me. I still worked in corporateville, and as a divorcee, I had not a huge amount of money, having gone through, anyone who's gone through it, you know, it's an expensive process, divorce, isn't it? So earning and at the time I was actually in charge of small medium business strategy for I don't know if I can say a company name, but for a service provider. So I'd learned an awful lot, but I also was very clear that if this was my meal ticket out of corporateville, I needed a product that was viable. I wasn't going to go down, you know, I'm not a 20-year-old millennial who's going to invest time in, I don't mean it in a derogatory sense, but at my life stage, if this was going to work, it had to be real.
And you have to pay your bills. Of course.
And you have to pay the bills. Yeah, absolutely. So the viable product, it took me nearly 18 months to build it. That's because it was stop, start, working at weekends, in the evenings, working with developers. We did it all remotely. I worked with an amazing team based in Latvia, who were probably more fluent in English than you or I. Really, really great. And that's what they do. So they were able to help me to translate all of the requirements that I had into something that was real. We did an awful lot of testing. I was fortunate enough that I knew enough people who would test it as friends, but also people who could introduce me to viable, real customers who had gone through a life-changing experience.
So you're getting continuous feedback the whole time, tweaking, making adjustments.
I didn't want to put anything out there live until I was sure it worked. And we've continuously developed it ever since. You have a few bumps. There are certain things that you don't know. But I think that customer service is essential. As long as you communicate with your customers, if something goes wrong, and you work with them to fix it, they are so much more forgiving. And all we've ever done, all I've ever done, and I still stand by that, is I continuously invest in the business. This is not a quick thing. This needs to be something sustainable. We're now at the point where we have all the foundations in place that will allow us to scale, so that it's not just a cottage industry. So that as those numbers continue to grow outside of Corona times, then we are equipped. The systems are equipped. The girls, the team are equipped. We've got the infrastructure to be able to meet the growing demand.
So looking at the actual product, I'm KLUMM and I want to change my name into Kai Deutschendorfer, for example. And I'm gonna type it in like Johannes Deutschendorfer, John Denver. So I want to be Kai Deutschendorfer, and what do I have to do if I'm using the product?
So you come onto our website, and first of all, it is advert free. There is no clutter. There's nothing to distract you. You come onto the website and you choose, or you do it in 3 steps. So the first step is you choose all the different companies that you have an account or a profile with.
Social media as well.
It includes some social media.
Wow.
So we have to draw a line.
Question. Yeah,
because there are literally thousands on the online world. So you start with the government and officialdom category, which is your passport, your driving license, your vehicle registration, your council tax, electoral register, the tax man, national insurance, doctors, dentists, and it goes on. It's a long list, but we call that government and officialdom. And then you go through your banks, your utilities, your credit cards, your mobile phone companies, your pension schemes. If you're a medical professional, all of the medical bodies. There's an additional category.
So it's not just making it easier, it's actually also making sure that you're not leaving any of this stuff out, right?
Yeah, a lot of people say, oh, I forgot all about land registry. How they forget that they own a house, I don't know. But they use it as a prompt. They use it as a prompter, and the system is there. So they select from all the categories. We've got over 600 UK companies and government bodies mapped onto our system. Then they enter their details, their contact details. So they write their old name and then their new name, John Denver, and title. They give us their information. They then are prompted to add optional additional fields. So the reason we make these optional is because it's their account details. So trust is a really important thing. And privacy is a really important cornerstone. Lines you do not cross. So some people feel comfortable with entering their account details, some people don't. And then that's it. They sign, they pay, and within on average 20 seconds, the system auto-generates all of the personalized instruction and their letters and their forms. So it's a pack that's ready for them to download.
Okay, now I've got
it.
Then
they sign them and then they send it off.
Perfect.
We don't have power of attorney. We don't want it. But what it does is it cuts through about 80% of the research and the legwork and the trawling through call centers and trying to find the answers. If you're moving house, it's easy. Changing name, not so much. So that's
an interesting point, actually, because that translates into time saving. It's actually going to translate into some kind of cost saving for the end customer, right? And so you can have those are the important things for you guys to measure to see, hey, this is a really useful thing. This has a lot of value for people, right?
Yeah. It takes on average about 10 to 12 minutes for somebody to complete their switch online with us, and it saves them on average 14 hours. So it's really the cost of time. And if you read the reviews, the common threads are, what a great idea. This saved me so much time, and I didn't know where to begin, and I kept on putting it off. Sorry, I put one more in.
I think sometimes it takes years before you figure out whom to call and whom to notify that your name has changed.
It took me over a year.
Yeah.
Because you don't do it all in one go. This helps you to, as I say, take the plaster off. But in many ways, it helps you to embrace it much more quickly if you have a happy reason to change your name.
And you've got this digital part in collecting the data, and then you're producing all the documents for download, to print it out, to make a signature below it, and then they already have the addresses and they know where to send it. So this is a really exciting way of being digital, going back to analog and doing something exciting here. Usually you would integrate into some back end of whatever organization and change it right there, but I think this would take a massive amount of time, and I think these organizations are not ready yet to.
They're not ready. There are all sorts of different stages. I mean, we will eventually become more digital, but because the stakes are so much higher, there are strict policies in place where certain companies will insist on an original copy of the marriage certificate or the divorce decree absolute or the deed poll, and some won't. And even just that alone is daunting for people. Like that, who needs what? Who has different degrees of security there?
Absolutely. So Brian, you had another question you mentioned before.
Yeah, I think one of the things about doing all of this is you learned a lot of lessons along the way. So there are probably things that you thought, damn, I wish I had known that before getting started. Just for the viewers, I mean, what did you find? What were some of the biggies, like the big lessons learned that you?
Oh, how long have you got, Brian?
I don't know. We got 8 minutes.
Crumbs. Well, I think part of the magic of doing something like this is that you continue to learn. You know, you don't know what you don't know. I continuously learn. I always have in my career. I always try to move into a role that I'm okay with, but I want to, I have to figure out what I'm doing. So yes, you wear multiple hats, and some are more comfortable than others. But I guess I've learned multiple things. One of the things is you cannot wear every single hat well enough. And if there's some that you really can't do, then leave it to the expert. I give my accountants everything, but I allow their expertise to keep me on the right side of the tax man and to let me know what loopholes and what things need to be done. I outsource all work that is related to SEO, search engine optimization, and Google Ads, because
it's a black art.
That's black magic. It is an absolute black art, and done right, it is a massive needle changer. Yeah. So I think using the experts that you have, I've missed initially having a team. We're fortunate enough to now have started to grow one. So it's also about using the skills from others, which is it's basic stuff, right? But you will wear multiple hats, and I think I've also learned that you must really draw on patience and perseverance, because you need to motivate yourself. And for me, the stakes were high. This, as I said right from the beginning, was never a hobby. So I needed to motivate myself. I needed to supplement my income in certain stages. So you've got to have a lot of energy. Yeah. But serious. It doesn't mean that that great idea is going to give you the money straight away, particularly if you want to reinvest in the business. So you need to be patient and realistic about when that money is going to come through. We're now in year 3 of trading, and things are going well. Obviously, everyone is affected by Corona, but this is the year when things now start to come in.
And I think there are many divorces after Corona, right?
There may well be a few. Actually, we have seen a spike. But these are, dare I say, graduates have come through in July. So their journey started a long time ago.
Okay. So they just said something like, we don't divorce now, we're going to just go try it again somehow to be a couple under lockdown conditions, or I think this wouldn't work.
Oh, I'm glad
oh no, it's not a good idea. So we've got 4 more minutes. I would love to hear more about you. You talked about your team in Latvia and that it works and they're speaking so good English. So could you please tell us a little bit more? How does your team look like?
Okay, so we are geographically spread across the parts of the UK. So customer services and Sharon and Catherine, who were great friends, first and foremost, but incredibly gifted individuals, are the permanent UK-based team. We have Polly, who is a freelance social media guru, another hat that I am too old to wear. We have Duke in Serbia. We have Alejandro in Uruguay, and those are the core team. And then there are various different freelancers that I will draw on for various different things, such as SEO, etc. Currently working with a company based in the UK. It's a UK-based service, but I come from a world of EMEA, so I always try to draw wherever I can on expertise from other parts of the world.
And that kind of leads to the next big thing, because as you say, it's a UK-based service. I would think that you'd be looking to kind of take it further, right?
Yeah, so the longer term view is to franchise NameSwitch, the overall brand and the know-how and the back-end CMS, and kind of cookie cutter it for each country. Certain markets are not viable for us culturally and more than anything, but certainly the US would be our first port of call. It's a well-established market. We wouldn't have the same burden that I've had, for example, in the UK, of having to create a market, which is a burden and privilege at the same time, trust me. So the UK
but then you probably have the complexity of different state requirements as well, all 50, right?
Absolutely, but we've researched quite a lot of that, and also because there are multiple companies out there like HitSwitch and a few others who Mrs. Who've already tackled it. There's a lot to draw from, but yes, that would be the first port of call, and the Australian and Canadian market would probably go next.
This sounds fantastic.
Very cool. Sounds exciting.
So I'm so happy that we had a startup founder for the first time on the BOTTEN and KLUMM show, and we just hit our 30 minutes. So,
that's Cécile, quick.
You were an amazing guest. Time is flying always, and we just say goodbye to everyone out there who's watching this show, and you want to be somehow gets this energy of you, Cécile. This is really impressive. This is impressive. And so we're going to close the show for today. Yeah?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for coming on.
It was fun. Take care, everyone.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Take care. See you next time.